All right, so I'm watching ABC News this morning, and in the ticker it talks about the Archbishop, of San Francisco saying to Nancy Pelosi she can no longer receive communion, right? Because I guess she's helping out women who want an abortion, right? Well, like I keep telling you, when David sinned with Bathsheba, what made the child die? 7 days later, the word of Nathan. He was a prophet, right? Right. He said because of David's sin being put on the child, right? Not only did he commit adultery with Bathsheba, but he killed her husband, right? In a cowardly manner, right? Having his soldiers withdraw from him and put him in the hottest part of the battle. And that's because some believe even sin is hereditary. And that David himself said, I was conceived in sin, and in iniquity did my mother conceive me. Right. Now, I'm not saying David was aborted, right? But the only child, right, where he murdered someone, right, Uriah the Hittite, and even in Matthew it says Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite. Okay, Archbishop. Now, where is it written that even the sinner who believes that Jesus died for their sin cannot receive communion? Nowhere. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Archbishop. Right. Now, again, bishop is only mentioned by Paul. And until Paul mentioned it, there wasn't even such a role. Especially in the Old. In the Old, they had teachers, prophets, evangelists, apostles, and pastors, right? Bishops and deacons are a new idea, and guess what? You can marry. You're supposed to have a wife, too, to be one, right? If you're not married, you're not really a bishop or a deacon, right? According to Paul's definition of it. Hypocrites. Are you reading the Bible, pastors or bishops and deacons? Or are you arbitrarily following it according to your understanding of it, right? Lean not to your own understanding, saith the Lord. This is a proverb, by the way. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, right? A bishop or a deacon, though, had to have a wife. Archbishop, right? And manage his home, and be of good reputation to the community. Where's your wife, Archbishop? Hypocrite. Or does the words of Paul fail you, right? And prove you a hypocrite? Hypocrite. Now, another thing is, Jesus never said anything specifically about homosexual relationships, right? Paul did, again, right? In Romans, he talks about it, but in a very judgmental and hostile way. But didn't Jesus say, judge not, lest ye be judged, right? And forgive to be forgiven, right? And to show mercy to attain mercy from God, right? Mercy, okay, is letting Nancy Pelosi receive communion because she still believes in Jesus, but she also believes it's a woman's right, whether she believes in Jesus or not, to have an abortion, right? At a certain point in the pregnancy as well. Mm-hmm. No one's saying, okay, if the baby makes it full term, to kill the child, right? After it's born, right? They're talking about at a certain stage in the pregnancy, right? Before the third trimester, usually. And again, right? If done within that time period, it's allowed, right? Mm-hmm. And the girl has the choice if she wants to keep the baby or abort the baby. I don't force a woman or a young lady, if she tricked me even, right, to have my child anyway. That would be up to her, wouldn't it? No. That's why I'm calling them actors, pretenders, right? Now, an actor's job, though, is to pretend they're somebody else, right? If you understand what an actor does, right, is they're pretending to follow the Word of God, but they don't really understand what it's all saying, right? And then they're taking it out of context, right? They're changing what it means, really. They're not applying it. Now, when a woman compares a man to an apple tree, but says his fruit was in her mouth, is he still an apple tree? And what is his fruit that would be in her mouth, right? The passage itself makes you ask this question, right? Are you afraid to answer it? By the way. Now again, just because someone feels gay, right, don't mean if you start finding yourself attracted to women, I'm just saying, right, whatever, right, that you have to stay gay either, right? That's what it means, that, right? If you're gay, you're saying you're attracted to the same sex and not the opposite sex only, right? Now, if you're bisexual, you can be attracted to both, right? By the way, men or women. And again, if you're celibate, that means you're trying to wait for sex, right? You have 4 options, right? Of how you can feel. Straight, you're only attracted to women. Then bi, you're attracted to men and women. Then gay, you're only attracted to men. And then you're choosing to be celibate because you don't want either or, right? All those are choices and decisions you have to make when growing up. Now, a lot of people don't get it, though. When a bully is calling you gay, right, they could mean it positively, in that you seem always positive, right? Always cheerful, always in a good mood, right? Beyond joyful as well. You like wearing bright clothing. This is the former definition of the word gay. You like wearing women's clothing instead of men's, or maybe, right? Or that kind of looks feminine, but ain't feminine, right? Now, even a Scottish man will wear a kilt, right? But it's not considered gay or anything, right? As well. Because of whatever reason, the Scottish people especially the men, started wearing the kilt. And again, right, they can also free ball it, as I've heard, or wear undergarments, right? Also pertaining to a male, right? Now that's because Moses did say in the Torah, the law, a man shall not wear clothing pertaining to a woman, nor shall a woman wear clothing pertaining to a man. Right. But again, if you do, you're only a cross-dresser. And what was the punishment for it, by the way? Do you remember that? I don't know. But I don't think it was as big of a deal as you're making it now. I think it was just banishment or something. I don't know. I don't think it was stoning them. And I also point out about Moses talking about spilling your seed. One was without a woman. One was with a woman. What does that mean? Well, the only way to spill your seed before evening, by the way. Also says that too. Is to manually stimulate yourself. If you're by yourself. By the way. Or you're with a woman and you're having sex with her. He covers both ways. He don't cover a third way if you're with another man, right? Or, again, have more than one wife, or, again, have more than one boyfriend or husband, right? God forbid that, right? Or did it? Did men forbid that? Do men count adultery a sin bad enough to just stone the woman? And not the man she was actually with, right? As they did with the woman caught in the act of adultery, or the wife. Since that's the crime, a wife is cheating on her husband. The question is, why would Jesus determine her fate? Anyway. Well, some suggest the woman was a prostitute. But then she wouldn't be a wife, would she either, right? Well, if she's Jesus' wife, and when Joseph and Mary were betrothed, right, who determined what would happen with her? Joseph. Not Mary herself, not any other party, but her husband or her betrothed, right? And what he determined at first was to put her away privately, right? And not make her a public spectacle. Meaning what she was telling him, he figured she was duped by the person claiming to be Gabriel, and he tricked her into sex and got her pregnant, right? If she's telling him the story, right, by the way. That's how he would see it, probably. When she went to visit her cousin Elizabeth, I guess, right? Alright. And she was there until the child was born, so that's at least 3 months, right? Right. Because, see, in the 6th month is when Gabriel first appeared to her. And if this is the birthing calendar versus the sacred calendar, that's February. March. In the Roman calendar and the Hebrew calendar, that's the month of, in the sacred calendar, that's the 1st month. But in the birthing calendar, it's the 6th month, right? By the way. And that's the truth of it, right? 9 months later, the child will be born in November anyway, not December. How do I know? I'm a February baby. So is my son. I got his mother pregnant, I know, within 4 days, and we met in the middle of February, February 15th, and I met Maribel February 14th, but I don't know what happened with her, but supposedly she was on birth control pills, I don't know. That's what she was telling me. I know that's what she was telling you. I didn't know if she was or not, right? Really, really. I don't know if she got pregnant or not. I know. Because I thought he should have been born in December, because I didn't know she got pregnant the first week we were together, right? So, as soon as we started having sex, right? Which he was born November 19th. We'll do the math. That's 9 months, 4 days, right? Mm-hmm. And within the time we were together. Mm-hmm. So it's perfectly 9 months, 4 days, right? And he was born around 7 pounds, 8 ounces anyway, I know, right? But I thought she got pregnant in March, right? So I thought, you know, he was a month, about 2 weeks early, you know, right? Mm-hmm. And that was just mild confusion on my part when I met Mary Bell, so I was telling her Jonathan was my son. But then we did the DNA test, and I found out he was. So I admitted to her I was wrong about that. Mm-hmm. And that was about the time she called me again and told me about Patrick. Mm-hmm. But there again, Patrick was also 2 weeks off from the last time we were together, but barely 2 weeks too, right? Mm-hmm. Now, for some reason, they don't count the first 2 weeks, but I know. Is that from conception? I know. Which, if I remember correctly, Mary Bell's period also started around the first of the month, right? So unless she had sex with someone else, I know, around October 3rd, right? Which would still be when she was be having her period normally, right? I don't know how she didn't get pregnant, right? By me, by you. That's all I can tell her about it too, right? I know. I'm not trying to embellish anything, right? But went over a pregnancy book as well. Mm-hmm. And he was 4 pounds, 9 ounces when he was born, right? Well, she was with the other guy, she said, in December, right? Well, guess how big he should be if he was his child, right? Under 2 pounds, right? Actually, 1.5 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. He wouldn't have just been a preemie Mary Bell. Mm-hmm. And see, the problem is, she told me this in 2000 itself, right? And now it's 2021. The child was born in May 31st of 97, right? And that's within 8 months of when we were last together, too, right? But only 5.5 when she was with Scott in December, right? Well, one would make the child 1.5 pounds, right? The other, nearly 5, right? Uh-oh. Mm-hmm. And he was nearly 5 pounds, right? He was 4 pounds, 9 ounces, right? And I've also figured she was on birth control pills until she met Scott, right? But then she missed the pill because she had a fling with Scott that night, right? And I guess to be safe, she took a pregnancy test, right? Right. Mm-hmm. And found out she was pregnant, right? I guess it didn't dawn on her. Mm-hmm. If you take a pregnancy test after a one night stand, right? Does that mean the one night stand got you pregnant or your ex-boyfriend from 3 months ago? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. If you did the test within a few days after you missed your birth control pill and found out you were pregnant, right? Immediately. Someone's being a bit naive about birth control pills and the possibility of getting pregnant on them, which I'm not, right? Because I've ran into a couple who said they started doing the birth control pills thing, but she still got pregnant. I don't know. Because they started having sex like crazy once she just started taking them. I don't know. And I don't know if being with Michelle had anything to do with it as well, but Michelle may have been a different blood type, right? But I did shower before I was with Mary Bell. I'm not saying that either, right? But that might have caused something unexpected, right? I don't know. All I can do is guess as to how, right, or when, or I don't know, trace back the birth weight. And that's why it traces back to October or so. Though he was a little more than 4 pounds and 8 ounces as well. But I also heard one of the side effects of birth control pills on the child is they're a little bit lower in weight when they're born, right? So that could mean, another pound or so, right? Give or take, could have an effect on it, right? That's why I would ask her, were you with anyone in October, right? At all, right? If she wasn't, there's a possibility, which is all I can tell her, right? Without a DNA test, right? He could be mine, right? Now, if she don't even want one, I'm screwed, right? And see, all I can do is find out what state she is and petition the courts with a lawyer usually, right? Which I couldn't afford as well, to get the DNA test in him from Mary Bell and Patrick, right? Unless she did one with Scott. But if she did that, she would know by now, right? And see, that's the problem too, right? She contacted me 3 years after the child was born too, right? Now, if you kill a 3-year-old, that's murder. Well, I'm saying, right? And see, I ain't seen even a picture of the child since then, right? That's weird too. Though someone was taking photos of Mary Bell a while back, right? Because I do check up on her, kind of, right? But not push it, right? To see if I can Google her once in a while. And the last place I heard she was at was around Salt Lake City, Utah, or somewhere around there, right? Or Utah. And okay, I know, right? I'm not going to go there or Virginia again. That's why I didn't keep up the relationship anyway, because she promised to move to Georgia with me and didn't keep that promise. And I couldn't keep going back and forth to Virginia because my car broke down. Then I went on disability after all that, right? And from 97 to 98, I wasn't even working, right? And I had no income. Couldn't even pay rent on my trailer. And the guy who owned it was trying to get me out, right? But I also tried to write him a letter and tell him what was going on, right? I know. And by the time I moved out, there was hardly nothing. I know. No furniture, hardly no. I know, right? In the trailer anyway, and that was the following March. And then I went into a part of a memorial called Clark's, which is for mental patients, right? And I was there for 2 weeks as well. And usually I got a good head on my shoulders, but what happened to send me there is the electricity was cut off in the house, so there was no AC, right? And in the trailer, it's like being in a tin box. Even a prisoner of war, if you ever heard of that, being put in a tin box, right, all day, was being treated better than I was, right? So I went walking up the street naked trying to get help and relief from the heat, right? And was kind of out of it, because of being in the trailer. And I think it was between 10 and 12 when I did all that. So, it was starting to get hot, right? Too. And I just went walking up the street, right? Without any clothes on. And I also went into the local psychiatric center, and then the police tried to arrest me, and I was kind of resisting arrest at first because I was sort of out of it. And some of this I was told, right, as well. Don't really remember it all clearly, but this is some of the things I was told happened, right? And they sedated me on the way in, right. And I believe I got a black eye from one of the officers hitting me, right? I know. Because I could see that after as well. Because I had a big old bruise on my left eye. Right eye. But they couldn't cuff me until I quit resisting arrest, right? I know that. I know. They're kind of having a little struggle there. But I did finally quit. Too. Now, like I said, one of the things, though, you might need to understand about that, is they only use force when you resist arrest, right? Too. I know. If you don't resist arrest, right, and you're doing something illegal, even a misdemeanor, they can arrest you, right? And you're then to work it out in the court. I know. Even cigarettes, right, and selling cigarettes legally in New York is a crime. That's a crime. And that's even an episode on SVU, I know, where Stabler plays an undercover cop for the tobacco and firearms, right? Part of the law. And he goes to buy some cigarettes with one of the guys who was charged with rape, but also was trying to, get out of trouble by, telling them about the scheme somebody had, right? Sell cigarettes without taxes, right? They also had the proper stamps and all that to make the bust, right? To make the sales, right? And see, I think they would get like 1.9 million, right? Back in, if they didn't pay the taxes, right? Sure. Yeah. Well, that's why the guy who was selling what's called Lucy's, right? Was arrested, right? But he also started resisting arrest, right? That's not a black or white thing. If a white person was to sell Lucy's like he was, right? Guess what would happen to him? He would be arrested too. He would be arrested too, right? And he too would go to jail, I know, for selling the cigarettes because they're not properly taxed, right? And all that's part of the legal system now, right? In New York, right? And the thing is, the difference between a sleeper hold and a choke hold is one, you're in the crook of the elbow, and the other, you're on the throat. It's also called a guillotine, right? Depending on how you're choking someone out. If it's from the front, right, it's called a guillotine, right? With their head under your arm. And you're using your forearm as the fulcrum on the throat. Now, when you're choking someone, though, you put pressure on the front of the throat. If you're from behind, right? Right. Though chokeholds can be excessive force now, right? And you kind of see why, because you're putting pressure on the throat and you can kill somebody, right? Now, the problem I have, even with George Floyd, though, is even though he lasted 8 minutes, right? If he couldn't breathe, he would have passed out. Before that. So some of the story seems real, and some of the story seems made up. I don't know what's real or fake, because you choke a normal person out and they pass out first, right? It don't take you 8 minutes to do that. No. It's about 2, right? Usually after 2 minutes, a person will pass out with a properly applied chokehold, right? Not 8. That's 4 times the amount of time it would take someone to pass out. So that's why I find the story a little fishy, right? And it sounds weird, right? But because I stopped resisting arrest, they didn't put a chokehold on me either, right? I just let them cuff me, I think, right? Well, because I was told I was resisting arrest at first, right? By my mom or somebody, right? And that's how I know, right? And since I took karate, I kind of know if they were trying to arrest me, the thumb is the weakest part of the hand, right? So I was probably using what I learned in martial arts to not let them cuff me. And every time they tried to grab me, I can easily escape their grasp, right? I know. Until they hit me, and then I kind of realized I was, in a bad situation and need to let them go ahead and arrest me, right? And did. I quit resisting arrest. And it kind of knocked some sense back into me, I guess, right? I don't know. And then I was taken to the hospital, the Clark Center, right? And like I said, another reason I know is I had a black eye from it, right? And, right, slowly went down, right? Mm. But the whole right eye was bruised, right? Now, that's another thing that proves there's some gimmicks in wrestling, right? Usually if you hit someone in the eye, they get a black eye. Well, you see them throwing elbows and punches and stuff like that to the face, right? But you don't see bruises afterwards, right? So they must be doing something to pull their punches, right? Or you would see bruises the following week, right? Because it took almost a full 2 weeks for the eye to stop swelling and being black, right? And, took over a week, I know. And that I know because by then I was on the medication and whatever Clark Center had me to take at the time, right? And I'd calmed down by then, right? And then I went to court to handle all that. And they reduced the charges, right? Or it would have been a felony, and I would have had problems with the VA and stuff like that, right? Too. But it was also my first offense, I know, right? In a way, in that particular area. And it was only my second strike, I think, because the first strike would be the burglary with my stepbrother. That was before I turned 18, right? Though I still could have been charged as an adult, I pled first offenders, right? But between there and being in the Navy for the full 5.5 years, right? And this happened in 98, right? Right. And then from there, I've been on disability ever since. And I got a little bit of a lump sum from the VA at first, but that didn't last long because I was already so much in debt, right? And I didn't know what to do with the money, so I kind of blew it all, right? That's kind of normal too, right? I at least tried to buy a decent car anyway. Which my first car was a yellow Mustang, right? And that too was a 98, right? I believe, right? And I put 4 horses on each side. you know. Well, what colors do you think? White, yellow, white, red, black, green. Cause it's a yellow car, right? Exactly. So white, black, red, and green. Green would be the colors you put on yellow. Anyway. Now, since then, I've been on disability and ain't gotten no trouble. Exactly. Though, I'm getting into, again, weird accidents where you can't quite tell whose fault it is, right? Or there wasn't something wrong with the brakes again, right? Because even though I'm going 60 miles an hour, I still see the red light and should have been able to stop in time, right? Unless something was wrong with the brakes, right? And that was in the Kia Forte, I think, right? But it was a stick, right? I also was in pain from the ankle and hadn't drove a stick in a while, especially a 6-speed, right? The last thing I drew was the Mustang, and it was the 5-speed, right? Or Tempo, and it was the 5-speed, right? I think, right? I think I had a white Tempo before I got the Mustang, right? And both were 5 speeds. There were Ford, right? I never drove a 6-speed before, by the way. So the way I do the gears is every 10 miles, I put it in second, third, fourth, fifth, and then sixth, right? So if I'm going between 55 to 60, right, I put it in 6th gear. Right. And, that's all I really remember happening there. And then when I realized that, I hit the brakes immediately, but the car went on through the red light. And normally they stop. Now, there's 2 types of brakes, though. The pads, right, or the discs, right? Most of my cars, though, were disc, right? Unless the Kia was a pad, right? I know. So the padded brakes, they clamp, right, on both sides, right? And the discs, right? And they clamp more the wheel, I think, right? The rim. But see, I still only know basic mechanics. I don't know how to fix the brakes, or though why no one showed me, no one showed you, right? Some people, you got to show what to do first, right? And take it step by step, right? Some people might be more mechanically inclined and could skip a few steps, but that's called I forgot what they call that, but it's not always good to skip a step, right? Even if you know how to work on mechanical things, right? But anyway. Now, I didn't get on YouTube till 2005, right? And all this is in Georgia after I divorced my ex-wife, right? And when I divorced her, I met a 19 or 18-year-old girl named Mary Bell anyway. And we had a 18-month relationship, right? I was never with a child. Even though I was around one. What do you say if you're around a child and you could have molested them but didn't? That's what you say, I know. That's all I said on my blog, by the way. I could have molested her but didn't. And I wrote the blog around 2005, right? Again, I divorced Daphne in 95. And we were legally separated in 94 when I moved back to base, right? And I was only around the daughter no more than the weekend, and she was sleeping in our bedroom with her mother, right? See, that's the real story you won't hear, right? And if I tell you, right, she came in there, I have to make it up. Right. Daphne never said anything about this, right? The whole 10 to 11 years, I know. And see, in 94, I moved back to base before September, right? So I had to work it out with getting a room, right? And they got me a room on the 3rd floor. And then 17 to 20 days was when I failed. But the date was September 15th, all right? And I also had 2 head traumas before then, right? After then, right. I had one in 86, I know, where I totally blacked out from that car wreck, and I don't even know what happened, right? I don't even remember turning down the road, which is kind of beyond, right, what you hear happens in a car wreck anyway. And the speed of the vehicle, it crashed nose in first, right? But there were no skid marks from me trying to hit the brakes, right? It's almost like I drove off the embankment like I was already knocked out. That's kind of what it felt like, too, right? Because, see, I don't remember driving down the road to this curve itself. I know. Right. If you're already knocked out and you're going around a sharp curve and you don't even hit the brakes, ain't that weird? Ain't that weird? Yeah. That's called a discrepancy, right? Even if, right. Right. Even if you're conscious, right? When you're taking a curve, you know you got to turn the steering wheel to a certain degree, right? To go around the curve, right? And you turn to the left if you're going left, and you turn to the right if you're going right? Everybody knows that, right? To make a left or right turn, right? Even in Europe. But the thing is, if you're driving on the left, you have to pull out across the traffic and into the traffic going left, right? Uh-huh. Now, if you're going right, oh no, on the left side, right? Same thing, though, basically, except, no, again, right? You have to pull across traffic one way, right? I know, right? And then go left, right? And see, then you're going here and then here, right? Now, if you're pulling out and going this way left, though, you still have to pull out differently, I guess, right? I know. Then going right, or pulling out and going that, right, this way, right. So we go right to left, right? They go left to right. Not that I ever drove in Europe or anything, right? But I did drive in America, right? But like I said, I also didn't black out with the Kia either, right? Why should I? Well, should you? And why would I black out with the wreck? With the curve? Unless there's more going on that meets the eye. Now, all I can guess is if Vivian and me and little Roddy were talking before we got to her house, right? I might have been talking about us getting jobs and things like that. Guessing, right? Because Mom had promised to give me the car. And then we can start maybe, doing something, right? Including going out on dates together, right? Because, see, I'm a sharer, right? And all I can guess, so after that, is we got to Vivian's house, and, him and Vivian went into her room and left me alone with the daughter, right? And maybe something happened, right? And then Vivian got mad and knocked me out. Roddy and her figured the only way to do something about it was wreck the car. And wreck the car with only me in it. With only you in it. I know. To make it look like I wrecked in the car, right? But yet, I made it to Guyton and, right, back, right, to wreck on that curve, right? Safely. And it felt like I was unconscious once I turned on the road. I blacked out. Until I woke up in the hospital 4 hours later. After they done treated me with everything, right? Now, by the time I'm in the room, though, they took off the hard C collar and all that. Probably because I'm crying out in pain. Remember what it said on the accident report? My neck was tender to palpitations. I know. Which means they're doing your neck like this. So I probably asked them to take off the C collar. Right. Mm-hmm. It was hurt my neck. And they did. Because I remember it being on when I woke up and my mom told me about the wreck, right? And that's all I know happened, right? I know. Or else I'm guessing at even why it happened, right? Mm-hmm. Though I assume the girl was at least 14, probably, right? And it probably pissed her off that I popped her cherry. Right? Though I'm 16, I'm not 17, right? And I probably tried to calm her down too, right? Best I could. Mm-hmm. But it didn't work. She hit her head with a bat or something. Yeah. That's what I think happened, right? And even though I took karate out, Cliff didn't teach us how to deal with someone wielding the bat. I know. Not exactly, right? And that's all I can guess happened too, right? Unless me and Roddy got into it because I thought he had sex with the girl or something, right? Or Mark showed up and found out me and the girl had sex and then he had a problem with it. And I don't know. That's all I guess. Or I met someone else down the road and their parent got mad, right? I mean, all that's within a rational gap in memory, right? As well. Mm-hmm. Though, if you're a believer, I know, whether you eat communion or not, right? Even if you do so unworthily, right? Paul still didn't say you couldn't take it, right? Did he? No. Mm-hmm. Plus, if she's Catholic, by the way, there's Protestant churches where, again, you can do communion as well. Mm-hmm. And usually if a man's doing it to a woman, right, he don't understand what it's like for her to have a baby. And being male chauvinist pig of a priest too, right? That's what Paul's showing you when he says, should a woman teach or have authority over a man, right? When there are two accounts in the Bible of two women doing exactly that. In fact, one of the kings of Israel had his footmen, or whatever you want to call him, kill him because a woman threw a rock on him and he didn't want him known he was slain by a woman. Okay, you were still killed by the woman. If not, right, you wouldn't have had to get your man to slave. And that's in the Bible too, right? That's male pride. You're gonna die anyway, fool. You just think it matters that you're having your henchman stab you first? No. If he didn't, you still would have died. You just had enough sense left, right? If you want to call it that. Or male pride, right? That you didn't want it known you were slain by a woman, huh? That's called not reading the Bible. Let men teach you what they want you to know from it. Right. Which the Bible don't teach it how you're teaching it because it's letters, right? Some of it are short stories, leaving out certain details, right? Like, you know that when David was with Bathsheba and she got pregnant, 9 months later is when the baby came, right? And during that time is when he tried to involve Uriah with his own wife. And then at the end, when she had the baby, right, after Uriah was dead, right, and he married her, right, talk about a shotgun wedding for somebody. I know. You heard it is too, right, Brian Kemp? A shotgun wedding? All right. You don't pull a shotgun, though, on a young boy dating your daughter. That's bad manners. But again, people gonna believe what they believe, and people gonna vote how they're gonna vote. I might even vote for you myself. See if you lose. I don't know. But see, if I'm home by myself at night, right, or I go out during the day, I again have to lose time, like in the Wreck of the Fall, and the time, right? That happened twice, right? mm-hmm. I know. Mm-hmm. Once in the Orchard nail salon, where I lost over an hour. And with the Comcast girl, though I didn't know it was a girl, where there I lost 20 minutes, right? One was 3 times enough, and one was once enough. And if I, think I did what I think I did, right? I know. And remember, I was trying to get dressed before she got there, right? But wasn't fully dressed yet. If she got there and knocked on the door, I would have to tell her when coming to the door, hold on a minute, I need to put on my shorts. Right. But if she said, don't worry about it, and I knew it was a girl's voice, right? I might have misunderstood. Initially, you went to the door and went ahead to let her in because I still had on my shirt, right? So I was just going to go ahead and open the door for her, and then I was, still in the process of doing that, and if she wanted to come on in, I was up there, right? Don't remember if she did. And you would even hear her knocking on the door. Yeah, I was already up. I was awaiting her, right? But I didn't know it was a her technician or a him. But if it's a him, I definitely would put on the shorts. But if a her, I might not have. Depending on what she said, right? And then I would still give her a choice once she's inside the house, right? And that's all I remember about it, too, right? And catching her before she left. Right? Noble Jones Court, right? So if she knocked me out towards the end, I revived her real quick, too. And then, because, see, that's my theories. These are my theories, right? That's why I don't remember it. Even with the girl at the nail salon, I think she somehow blacked me out, like at the car wreck of the fall. The fall, I assume, was the building, right? By the way, I hit the ledge on my way down, right? And it knocked me out, right? And there I was knocked out until I got into the ER as well. Though that, too, was around between 5:30 to 6 o'clock, right? All around the same time. Oddly enough, except with the nail salon. I went in there around 2 and got out about 10 to 4. A little bit too long there, huh? And it wasn't daylight savings time, plus you gain or lose an hour. If I went in there at 2, I could have gotten out at 3 and still made the movie. But it wasn't daylight savings time, right? And the reason we do that is so our kids can go to school when there's light, idiot. No. Do you have children? That's why we do the time back thing, right? So our kids don't have to go to school in the dark. Especially in Georgia. Might not be as dark in Florida, right? Because you're closer to the equator, right? But from Georgia to Virginia, right? It gets dark earlier, or later even, right? If you understand, right? I know. Especially during winter, it gets dark earlier, from Georgia to Virginia, right? And on up, don't it? Don't daylight seem to be less when it's in the southern hemisphere than in the northern? Right, that's called seasons, right? We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But the hills that we climbed were just seasons out of time. Ever heard that one? That's an oldie. It's also sad because it's suicidal. Right? But I never tried suicide either, right? Not even the building was about suicide. It was about trying to get into your room with $250 in the room and not sure someone didn't steal the key, right? And get into the room themselves, right? Now, if they find the key but no money, someone stole the money, right? The worst case scenario is the people who broke into it the next morning stole the money. But the only way they could do that is if they knew the money was there, right? From the night before. That would mean we had a conversation about the money being in there. And I don't remember that. I don't know. But if you weren't injured in the fall, and you don't know how you got down, otherwise, which there's 3 ways or 4 ways, right? Not just one. You can jump. You can lower yourself down, right? At least one more floor and jump, right? Or all the way down to the ground. Or you can swing back up the same way you got on the roof, right? So there's 4 ways, right? Not only the person I told how I got down, that's how you got down, right? Not me. Now, if it's a guy on base, he can't shoot me, but he can hit me over the head with a billy club. I know. And I would tell him the same story, that I blacked out in a car wreck, but not know the same details as I know now, right? And all I know is I came to there. Mm-hmm. Right. And my mom told me I was in the wreck. And whatever happened there, I survived it, right? I didn't know that then, right? And there's 2 possible suspects, Pastor Thomas or someone on base, right? But could Pastor Thomas get me off base? That's the question, right? And most of the guys in the church are in the Navy. They could validate for me, right? But anyway, have a good morning.